Right around the first week of May, just as the PGM rhododendrons are blooming and the spring nights turn warm, it's a subtle reminder that the ruby-throated hummingbirds, our only hummingbird on the East Coast, will be making the long migration back to upstate New York from Mexico or Central America. It's a cue to get our hummingbird feeders ready, but also to consider what hummingbird-worthy plants we could provide throughout the growing season. There are plenty of herbaceous perennials like Lobelia cardinalis, Monarda didyma, and Augustaki that hummers will adore, but there are also plenty of spring-planted bulbs that bloom reliably in the summer to fall that could supplement their insatiable appetites before their long trip back down south come September, which we'll be covering today. Well, we have quite the planting job today. You can see that I have a number of bulbs, corms, plants that we're going to be planting this spring, which will bloom in summer through fall, sometimes up to frost, depending on the bulb. But we have a number of ones that we'll be going through, but the reason why we're going to be planting these this year is primarily to attract hummingbirds. And hummingbirds have tetrachromatic vision, so they could really see reds, warm colors like reds, pinks into the purples, also some oranges as well. So they have a tendency to be attracted to those bright red colors, which is great because if you ever see bees or flies or wasps, they're typically on maybe the yellow or purple flowers and less so on reds and oranges. So the reds and oranges really attract the hummingbirds. And because they have the tetrachromatic vision, like we only have 3 cones in our eyes, their reds that they see and the UV lights that they see make the colors even more vibrant, if you can imagine. So I have some really vibrant shades of reds here. And many of these plants that I'm going to be planting are also a bit more tubular, not all, but some of them. And that's another adaptation that hummingbirds have, is that they have a tendency, because of their long beak, to look for tubular flowers, which other insects can't pollinate or nectar. Now you'll see butterflies on some of the colorful flowers, maybe they're reds or yellows, but butterflies are not really true pollinators. They may get a little bit of pollen on their legs, but mainly their legs are like naked, and so they just do mostly nectaring. Really the good pollinators are like hummingbirds. They're also like the bumblebees that are really fuzzy, and they basically get all this pollen on them and spread it from flower to flower. So I have a number of things this year. Now you'll remember last year I planted a lot of dahlias, and I have some of the fancy dahlias, which are the ones that kind of look a little bit more like this, but they don't really have pollen and nectar. They're really pretty as flowers. They're very vibrant as flowers. But I also have ones that are single. So they have a center where you could get the nectar and pollen, so they're not all fancy. So I went with some fancy, but mostly single dahlias. And then something different this year is gladiolis. So I've planted them in planters and things like that. These are the type of plants that grow a large inflorescence, a very tall inflorescence. You could plant these 4 to 6 inches into the soil. You plant them now when frost is gone. And I'm crossing my fingers here because it's early May and it looks like the frost is potentially gone, so that's why I'm going to be planting these. And these come in lots of different shades, and I got ones that are in deep reds and purples. There are plenty of gladioli that are hummingbird worthy. These will bloom from midsummer through early fall, right as the hummingbirds start migrating back home. Now I'll be staggering planting every 2 weeks until early July to ensure that we have blooms throughout the season. Some great selections in the red and purple hues include Black Sea, Oscar, Fat Boy, Purple Magic, Espresso, Bizarre, Chocolate, Nanis Adam, Lara J, Black Surprise, Koi Pursuit, Mombasa, Black Star, and Smoky. And I'm going to be planting these at 2-week intervals, basically so that you could prolong the flowering over the course of the summer months. I'm just going to be planting some of these up in beds that I've planted dahlias and everything before. And I have some really oddball ones as well that I'll show you as we get over there. Now, many of these are not hardy to our zone, so we're in a zone 5, 6. So if you know where you plant them, you could actually pull them out for the following year, store them properly. But there are some exceptions. Crocosmia, so this one's Crocosmia lucifer. And if you recall, I planted some of these corms over in this bed over here. These actually perennialize, which is great. And they have this beautiful arching habit, almost like a C shape. And the Crocosmia lucifers are some of the brightest red. So I'm going to be planting more of those again here. And you could see that they'll have like the little rootlets on the bottom and a little nubbin on top. And then in the summer months into the fall, that's when you'll actually start to see them. And those were highly successful with the hummingbirds last year. See that I have a hummingbird feeder right there because I saw the orioles come out. And I put up the hummingbird feeder because I know the hummingbirds are not too far behind. But Sandra's always reminding me to like plant the flowers and the plants that the birds already love, whether it's the seed heads for songbirds to eat or it's the nectar for hummingbirds. And I think that's a great thing to remind yourself, because if I'm not here and I'm not putting sugar water in the hummingbird feeder, at least that there'll be flowers at all points of the year, especially in the height of summer and fall when they're breeding and they're migrating. So some other interesting ones that I have, Sprachelias formosissima. And this is a type of amaryllis. And these have really bright red flowers. They're very fun. Again, they're not hardy to our zone. And I only have 3 of these. And I thought they would be fun. I was considering maybe planting them in a planter so I know where at least I'm putting them. There's not that many. So they look very much like a large tulip bulb. So typically what you want to do is 2 to 3 times the length of the bulb down. Do the same here. I have to be careful not to dig up the phlox or the clematis that I have planted in here. Now, one of the things that I'm not going to be planting this year because we already have so much of it planted is liatris. And that is coming up here in the planters and also in our gardens. Now that is a purple flower, purplish to purple red. Hummingbirds seem to like that flower, but so do butterflies, bees, wasps. I see a lot of pollinators on liatris. So you have a little bit more competition. But when you're talking about red flowers, particularly red tubular flowers, there's not much else other than hummingbirds in these parts that are going into those flowers and pollinating them. So again, I think that hummingbirds co-evolved with a lot of those red tubular flowers. Another hummingbird-friendly bulb, which I failed to show here, is the Oberon freesia in red, which has red petals and a yellow throat and is a great cutting flower as well. Here's another interesting one. This is Lycoris radiata red spider lily. This is one that towards the late summer, early fall, I guess, it sends these spidery red blooms out. It's very cool on this like very stark naked stem. And these are a little tad expensive, so I didn't buy a number of them. I think I only have 5. So I want to plant these in a special place. I've seen them in different garden tours, but I've never actually had them in my own garden, so I figured I would try them out this year. But my hunch is that hummingbirds will love these. And again, if you have animals that have a tendency to dig plants up, then I would plant them just slightly deeper. And I think it looks really nice as a clump. Japanese honeysuckle I see coming up here, so I'm going to weed that out. I love that the tulips are coming up here as well. They look so pretty. Many of the tulips are a little too early for hummingbirds. This one's an exciting one. This is the gloriosa or the glory lily. Again, this is not hardy to our zone. This is a climbing flower that gets bright red petals with little streaks of yellow, and it blooms in the mid of the summer. And what I'm going to try to do is plant this on our trellis area. I have quite a lot of plants already growing on the trellis area, but because this is not considered a perennial vine, I think it should be fine. And it takes a while for the rose and the clematis to establish. So what I'm gonna do is plant this on this side and a little bit deeper again, because I do have chipmunks that like to burrow in here. In here, pat it down, and then hopefully as it starts to emerge, I could train it on this side of the trellis. Just getting those hummingbirds a little bit closer to the house so you could observe them. All right, so next ones on my list are gonna be dahlias. And you could separate them out, provided that you have some of the eyes on the tuber. I like to leave them kind of nice and big. But like I wouldn't separate, this one has a nice eye right here. But again, this one you could separate out if you want to cut it right in the middle there. There are a lot of lovely single-flowered deep crimson to Cabernet or two-toned dahlias like Joyful Investment, Edge of Joy, Night Butterfly, Japanese Bishop, Wowee, Dracula Dark Angel, Verone's Obsidian, Bishop of Llandaff, Fire and Ice, Single Flame, Pulp Fiction, Bumble Rumble, Top Mix Purple, and Mexican Star, which I'll be planting this year. These only grow 8 to 10 inches tall, and they have this really kind of reddish purple color. And because they're only 8 to 10 inches tall, I would plant these close to front of border. And you basically lay them horizontal, and you see all these growing tips that are coming up. So those will start to emerge, I would say. Most of them here in a zone 5-6 start to emerge for me around August, September. Some of them come a little later, like October. It really depends on how warm it is. And then they will last up until frost. And once frost comes, they look terrible. So you have to start cutting them out. Now you can remove the dahlias because, again, they're not hardy to our zone. Before a frost, cut the tops off, remove them, store them with like sawdust in like a garage or someplace that's cool but not too cold and so they won't get frosted. Sometimes it's more of a hassle, and then you could just purchase them again. But again, I'm gonna just kind of dot them through here. Again, I'm just gonna tuck this away in here, have that growing tip come up. This is a relatively short bed, so I have a lot of short plants planted in here. Now I'm also going to be planting some back of border plants, and I already mentioned these, but these are some of the gladiolus that I'll be planting. So I have purple feather, I have black star, which is this really goopy reddish black. I have smoky, which is a more lavender shade. And again, I'm sticking with reds and lavenders as well. It's on point with this garden anyway, because I've decided to plant more reds, purples, some whites, red, purples, and yellows in this garden, red, purples, and yellows in this garden, and purples and whites in that garden. So I planted a lot of yellow, red, white tulips in here, so you could see kind of the Rembrandt mix. So I wanted to go a bit more in that same vein as with the gladiolus. And then I didn't plant any of the purple tulips this year, but you could see that a lot of purple tulips are re-emerging from the purples that I had planted last year. So the one key thing about gladiolus is that because they get so tall, like this plant will grow quite high, oftentimes they need to be staked. So what I figured is that we have this beautiful fence here. If I tiptoe between all the plants, I will be able to plant them along with some of the 3 to 4 foot dahlias along this fence post. And I just put them in about 4 inches with the growing tip up, and then I just put them over. And so that way, if they're going to tip over, we could put them up on the fence line. Same thing with the dahlias. So I have some that are tall. So this is Dahlia Bumble Rumble. and it grows 36 to 4 feet tall. And so what I could do is just plant those also along the fence line. You don't have to bury the dahlias too far down, or else they may rot. So these are going to be tall ones, single flowered, that I could plant along the back edge of this garden and hopefully see a lot more hummingbirds throughout summer months and fall months, because if you recall last year, this garden really went in, it's less than 2 years old, and a lot of the perennials take a while to take off, and we had almost no flowers after the tulips started. So planting these bulbs in spring for summer and fall blooms, along with the perennials, which take a little time to start off, then I think we're gonna have really good hummingbird food this season. I'm gonna get to planting, and I will see you soon. For more information on gardening with bulbs, go to flowerbulb.eu for inspiration and education. And we'll be back in the garden with you in the next video.